Hola, estudiantes. I just wanted to take you through this last module and the final project via Screencastify in case you just needed to hear some details about the information. You're also welcome to email me anytime you have some questions, and I will get back to you ASAP. So mostly this module looks very, very similar to all the other modules. We've got the home page, and there's a little message from me here. Our frase de la semana: no dejas para mañana lo que puedas hacer hoy. Don't leave for tomorrow what you can do today. I have my little letter, what you're going to do this week, and our learning target, which is you're able to demonstrate in writing or speaking vocabulary taught this semester. That's our final project. So when you get to the learning task, you will see that it's kind of similar to what we've had all quarter. We have our interactive communication. The Tuesday Zoom is optional drop-in. In case you have questions about the final project, you can just pop in, ask your question, and leave. If you don't have any questions, don't come. It's not required. Our Thursday Zoom is required. This is our very last Zoom. Actually, it's the very last day of the quarter. It'll be our very last Zoom of the semester. And we'll kind of be just wrapping up loose ends there and giving you information about next semester. Next, instead of having all of the choices to practice the reading, writing, speaking, listening, you got one project that you're going to do to demonstrate your skills, the vocabulary that you've learned this year. There's 6 options to choose from. You just choose one, whichever one is most appealing to you. All of the options, however, are graded on the same rubric. So here's the rubric. I'll open that up and just quickly go over it. The whole project is worth 25 points. It will go in to the performance section of your grade, and really it's weighted at about 15% of your final grade. So even though it's only 25 points, it is a big part of your final grade. You don't do it at all, it would definitely probably bump you down a grade and a half. If you do something, it's not going to have as big an impact. And if you do an amazing job, that'll be awesome. So we have the content, right? So you're staying on topic and you're writing and speaking, shows an attempt at organization. So if you're writing the letter, you have one section about your daily routines, then another section about your clothes, and another section about things you have to do. Some kind of order, even if it's a story or a skit or something, it flows. Originality and creativity. This really is the challenge to see how you can take the small amount of language it's only been a year and a half, and use that to convey kind of clever, unique ideas. That is the challenge when you're learning a language, is to take the language be as creative as possible with it to communicate. The vocabulary, this is really just, are you hitting the vocab that we've learned this year? Comprehensibility and comprehension. This, you might be surprised, actually, you're going to be more comprehensible if you keep it simple. So you use phrases that we've learned this year or last year. You just keep it pretty basic. If you add details, it's very straightforward. You're not trying to do, yesterday I went to the store, and we don't know yesterday. You got to just stick to what we know. All right, and then the authorship, probably the most important thing anytime really, is that you are doing your own work. So you're better off having mistakes in your writing than having Google Translate do it. So a 5 in this section is excellent. It means you did all your work. You used only words that we've been using in class, and you stuck to grammar that you've learned the last year. It's just your work. Good is it's pretty obvious you used Google Translate a couple times to use words that we haven't learned yet, and that you probably wouldn't learn for a while. Fair, you're using it a little bit more often, maybe even gone into some whole phrases that have been Google translated. And then poor, there's a lot more. And then basically this unsatisfactory, you get to the point where it's not even your writing. It's so much of it has been Google translated it that I can't even tell what you know. I can tell what Google knows. And unfortunately, if you are in this category, it means you got a 0 on all of this. And hopefully there's time for you to redo it. I'll resubmit it and say, hey, this was way too much Google translated. It's not even your work. You need to redo it completely. So stay away from this one right here. You don't want to have to redo things. All right, and I will be using that rubric on every single option that you choose, no matter what. So option 1, if writing a letter sounds good to you, then you would click on that. It will take you to kind of the details of what you need to include. This first paragraph right here is the only thing that's going to change on all the options. So read that first paragraph very carefully. So option number 1, for this option, you write a letter to a friend, family member, or new pen pal in Spanish. That's it. Pretty simple. You need to include the following: 8 of the Sweet 16 verbs. Remember, we've learned these in the he, she form. So it's best to use them when talking about someone else, your mom, your dad, your friend, a sibling. So if you're writing a letter to somebody, when you use these verbs, you might want to say like, oh, my brother has a dog, or my brother wants to go skating. So FYI on that one. There's your tip. And then at least 5 things you have to do. And one little bit about clothes. You can talk about going shopping and buying clothes you like. You can talk about the clothes you're wearing. You can talk about clothes you don't like. Just three things about clothes. And those are the points you have to hit in your letter. And then it'll be graded on the rubric right there. One thing that's different is you're not going to submit your letter, your final project, with the module. There is a separate assignment on Google Classroom, and that is where you're going to need to submit your final project. So if you chose a letter, you're going to submit your letter on that assignment, not with your module. All right. Next, you go back to learning tasks if you want. You could say, the letter doesn't really interest me. Ooh, what's the storyboard? I love telling a story. You click on that. The first paragraph is going to tell you what the difference is from this and the letter. So thinking about the stories we've heard this year about the rock, paper, scissors, El Triángulo de Amor, Victor, the chores, you could go back to an old Edpuzzle to review. You are going to write your own simple story in Spanish with either slides, or if you want to hand draw your storyboard, you could do that. You need to include the written sentences on your storyboard in Spanish. In fact, I'm going to add that right now because sometimes people get excited about their story and they forget to do it in Spanish. And then the same thing, you're going to make sure to include the following vocabulary. So you have to have at least 8 of the Sweet 16 verbs. You have to remember that those are in the he, she form. With a storyboard, that's actually probably easier. 5 things you have to do. So in the storyboard, you could have it say, I have to do this, or you could say, he has to do that. And then 3 articles of clothing. And again, you'll submit your story on Google Classroom under the final project assignment. If you don't like the letter, you don't like the storyboard, you go back to the learning tasks. Option 3, a selfie slideshow. Ooh, that sounds fun. I wonder what that is. You click on that. First paragraph will tell you what you need to do. So make a get to know you slideshow in Spanish. Write a sentence in Spanish, include as many details as you can, then take a selfie of you doing the sentence. So maybe like if you are talking about, I have to wash the clothes, there's a picture of you washing your clothes. Or if you're using one of the Sweet 16s, on this part, I wouldn't do a selfie. I would do like maybe my sister or my mom saying something. So if I say my mom gives my dad chocolate, then you have a picture of your mom giving your dad chocolate. Because again, the Sweet 16 verbs, we have been learning in the he, she form. So that part you might want to not want to do a selfie. You might want to do someone else in your family. If you're not interested in that, go back to the learning tasks. You can do a good old-fashioned foreign language skit. So on this one, you write and perform a skit in Spanish. It can be silly or serious. A day in the life of somebody might work well. Perform and record the skit. Submit the recording as your final project. I don't need to see the script, but make sure the recording is audible. Make sure it's loud enough so I can check off the requirements. But yeah, if you choose this option, then you don't have to worry about spelling as much. But you do have to make sure I can hear it. And you have to hit these same categories as in the other ones. And then you attach the recording, the video, to the final project assignment in Google Classroom. The fifth option is pretty unique. It's interview with a teacher. So that one, this one I would only recommend signing up if you are super confident in your speaking and listening. So you'll sign up for a private Zoom with the teacher, and here's the schedule. You'll click on that. It opens up, and I want to do my interview with the teacher on Monday at 10 o'clock. So then you write your name right in there. Once you sign up, then I will send you a Zoom link and we'll meet up. At the Zoom, you need to come prepared with 3 questions to ask me. So one question has to be using one of the Sweet 16 verbs. One question has to ask me about something I have to do. And then one question has to be about an article of clothing. You could ask my favorite clothing or if I like this or something. Then you have to be ready to answer 6 questions from me. I will ask you 2 questions using the Sweet 16 verbs. I will ask you 2 questions asking you about things you have to do or who has to do something in your house. And then I will ask you 2 questions about articles of clothing. So this one, I feel like you have less control over, right? Because you don't know what I'm going to ask you. But if you're super confident about your vocabulary and you want to just push yourself to see how your speaking is, this is a nice one. The pros of this one is you don't really have to spend a lot of time creating the project. You kind of just maybe study ahead of time and show up. Finally, the last one, option 6, is it's other. Basically, if you can think of another way to show me, to demonstrate the skills in these categories right here, then you can do it that way. I have no idea what that would look like. Maybe you write a song. Maybe it's a blog or what do you call that? Podcast. I don't know. You guys are creative. So if you have an idea that you want to do that's not on the list, just email it to me ahead of time and I can maybe help you brainstorm like what things might need to look like to make sure you hit all of these categories. And that's it. Finally, if you go back, the last thing you'll need to do after the final project is there's going to be a review reflection here that you'll need to click on and fill out, and then you're done. You'll submit this module as homework, but there's not very many points to it. So you could actually probably submit that right after the Zoom on next Thursday, and then the final project is submitted in a different area. Hopefully questions. If not, please email me and I will answer them as soon as I can. Good luck. Adios. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with.